Hi, I'm Julia from Mapcreator, and today I'd like to give you an overview of our mapping tool. When you land in the tool, the first place you're going to see is your own dashboard. Here you can find all of the maps that you've created. You can use the search bar to search for a specific project name, or you can use the drop-down right here to switch between last viewed, projects that you've downloaded, alphabetical order, or projects that you've starred. To start a project, all you have to do is just click on the little star that is next to it, and you can see that it will now turn yellow. Now, when we go back to the upper right and we click on Order by Starred, we can now see all of these mapping projects appear. Now, when we go to the left-hand side under My Maps, you can see that there's two folders for shared maps. One of these is Team Maps. These are maps created by people within your organization. Then below that, there's ready-to-use maps. These are maps that have been created by the Mapcreator team, which you can create a copy of into your own account, whether that is on the Tour de France, something going on in the world that is war-related, or something like the World Cup. These are maps that we've already created and you can just duplicate into your account. Now, when we go one below, you can see all of the folders right here. When we select a project by clicking on it, you see that there's a few things that we can do here. You can move it to one of your folders that you've already created. You can share it by creating a URL. You can rename it, delete it, or duplicate it. You can also open it, but another way to open it is just to double click on it, and then it will automatically open for you. Now that we've covered the dashboard, let's start with creating a new map. Now, before we actually create a map, let's get over our menu very quickly. So starting from the left-hand side here, you can go back to your dashboard, you can open up your preferences or what's new. Within what's new, what you will find is updates and messages about new features within our tool, or if we've created new ready-to-use maps, you can find information about that here as well. Now let's get back to our project. Right next to that, we have our undo and redo functions, which also work with your keyboard controls. And then in the settings wheel, you can change your map style, you can change your detail level, which will have more labels or less labels appear on your map, more detail without changing your zoom level. Then you can change your language, your size preset, and here you can also change your frame size. You can do that by manually putting a value or by dragging, as you can see right here. And then you can see that those values will also update. We also have a toggle here for globe view. And then there's a toggle for 3D terrain. Now, let's zoom into an area that has a few more hills so you can actually see this. And then let's tilt our map by clicking down and scrolling up. Let's zoom in a little bit more. Well, as you can see, the hills or mountains don't seem as high here. This is because our 3D terrain is relative. Compared to Mount Everest, not a lot of the world is going to be that hilly or mountainous. So you can use the slider, as you can see right here, and if we drag that up, you can now actually present this area as is. Let's disable this for now and actually move one to the side. This is where you can import your files, but you can also import files just by drag and drop. These can be KML, Excel files, CSV, GeoJSON, PNG, vector, you name it, you can most likely import it into our tool. Then right next to that is our search bar where you can search for a specific location. And then next to that, you can give your map a title. Now, if you use that little arrow next to it, you can save your map, create a copy, move it to a folder, delete it, or create a new map from here. Now let's move on to the bottom bar. Here you can lock your current view. What you can see is right now I can click down and move around and my entire frame moves. Whereas if you lock your view, you can still move around, but you can see that your bounding box will stay around the exact same area. Then you can zoom in or out by your map by scrolling in or out, but you can also use these controls for that, or just slide up or down. When it comes to tilt and rotation, the same format works, but you can also double click on these for these to be reset. And then here you can see your coordinates. And then on the right-hand side, we have the button for Fit the Screen. What this does is this brings your project closer to you without changing the size of your bounding box. Let's say we want to work on this tiny little project, just a little square around Paris, and you want to really be able to see the streets and work on these details. You can use this feature to bring your project closer to you. And then next to that, we have the grid function. This grid is only visible within your editing mode. So when you export, this grid will not be there. Just use it as a guideline in case you want to center something, or if you want to create label-free zones, you can just use these toggles, and then you can drag your grid lines up or down to basically decide the areas in which you want your labels to appear or disappear. You can disable the grid just by using the toggle, and then you disable the label-free zones just by clicking on them once again. Next to that is our support chat, where you can always, during business hours, reach us, and we would be more than happy to help you with your project. Now that we have gone over all of the menus, let's start by actually getting into mapping. Let's use the search bar to search for an area, in this case Eindhoven, and let me quickly change the size of my bounding box by just dragging the corners. Then I am going to navigate to the left-hand side and go to the icon tab. Here you can select icon and you can just drag and drop any of these icons onto your map. You can then use the styling menu on the right-hand side to change the color, to change the size, or add a rotation in case you want. You can also add a label to it, or lock the position. Before we do any of that, let's make sure we have it in a position where we want it to be. So we're going to move one tab to the right to the location tab, and let's search for Bogert 31, which is the location of the Mapcreator headquarters. And then let's add a label to specify that this is actually Mapcreator headquarters. Now what you can see here is that there's two different toggles to allow overlapping, meaning that you can decide for the icon as well as the attached label whether you want it to overlap with map elements or not. Then when we go down a little bit here, you can find your font settings for the label, including the size, the font family, and so on, as well as some additional settings. Now let's go ahead and add another icon onto our map. Once again, we're just going to drag and drop it on, then we're going to search for Eindhoven Airport so that this icon is going to appear in the position where we want it to be, and then let's slightly change our frame so both icons are now visible. Now let's select the second icon again just by clicking on it, and let's add a label here as well to say Eindhoven Airport. Now when we click on the drop down next to the icon menu, what you can see is that besides an icon, there's some other things that you can add as well. So you can also add a text or a text box. Let's have a look at text first. What this is any text that appears on the map. That could be a street name, this can be a water label, a city label, a country label. So let's say that we want to have the location label for Veldhoven to be inside our frame. So we can add it, and you can see it now appears on our map. It was already there, of course, but if we would have made our map a bit more narrow, it would have disappeared. And by adding this text, you can make sure that some labels are always there because you can just reposition them. Then you can use the drop down right here to decide how you want this label to appear, or you can use the font settings on the right hand side in case you want to manually make changes. Now when we go to text boxes instead, is how this differs is a text box is really just to highlight something, whether that is a specific location, a specific building, a street name, whereas the free text is more of a map label. If we drag and drop this on any place of the map, it will automatically have a name attached to it. So now we could, for example, remove the label from our Eindhoven Airport and use this text box instead. If you move it again, the label will not update, but let me just show you again. If we just drag and drop any of our text boxes onto our map, it will automatically get the name of the location where we've dropped it in. You can still change this, of course, within the styling menu. For example, you can make it say example, but this is just a nice feature to have. Then you can change the size, you can add rotation, change the color. All of the settings that you are used to finding in the styling menu will be right there, same as for the icons. Now let's move one down and have a look at other things that we can add on top of our map. Let's start with a line. You can create a line by searching for locations or just clicking on the map, and then you double click to end your line. Now there's a tiny blue dotted line on top of it, which you can drag up or down, and it will move the position of your line. And then you can, from the styling menu, use the slider to make it have rounded corners. Now some other things you can do here is make it dashed or dotted. You can change the width of your line and you can change the color. And you can actually also see the distance in kilometers right here. Now let's select that and remove it using our backspace keyboard control, and let's create a route instead. So once again, you can either create that by searching for locations or just by clicking anywhere on our map and then double click to end it. You can see it will now automatically have a route generated. Now, when we select it and go to the styling menu, you can see right here that you can switch it from by car to bicycle or pedestrian. And then you can actually also use the anchor points, how we before made it a curved line, now to change the points that it will pass on the route. Let's remove this as well, and let's go back to the menu and have a look at polygons. Just like a line or a route, a polygon can be created by clicking on your map. So let's say we want to highlight this shape around Eindhoven Airport. All we have to do is just click on the points where we want the polygon to be, and then double click on the final point when we're happy with it. And then we can once again use the styling menu to change the color, the transparency, and even the width of the outline and the color of the outline itself. Now let's remove that as well and have a look at a circle instead. To add a radius circle, all you have to do is just select it from the menu and click once on the map where you want it to appear, and then you can use the slider to decide the size of your circle. You can just move it around by dragging it where you want it to be on your map. You can add a fill pattern by using any of these presets that we have right here. And then you can use the toggle in case you want to add a radius line. Now, once again, let's remove that and let's have a look at areas instead. Now let's also remove the airport icon that we added, and let's zoom out a little bit so I can go over the areas feature with you. You can now actually also see the overlapping. Here, when we select our icon again, you can decide whether you want to have map labels overlap with our icon or with your label, and you can decide this separately. All right, let's continue on to areas. So we're going to go back to the menu, and instead of circle, we're going to go for areas. And here you can decide between single areas or area sets. A single area refers to one single area. And as you can see, it will automatically give you suggestions based on the area that you are at. When it comes to area sets, these are area groups, whether that is municipalities, cities, countries, you name it, we most likely have it. Now let's search for single areas and go for Eindhoven. And you can now see the shape of Eindhoven has appeared on our map. When we use the styling menu, we can give it a color, change the transparency, and you can also change the outline width here if you want. Now, if we go back to the left-hand side and move one down to overlays, this is where you can find some additional things for your mapping projects. Here you can, for example, find frame overlays, whether that's a skill bar or a north arrow or an inset map. These are elements that you can attach to your frame. So instead of you dragging them into position, you can just use the styling menu to decide whether you want them to be in the top left, in the center, in the bottom, in the top right, and so on. An inset map, for example, can really give some context of where your map is happening in the world. You can click on the styling menu on change to switch between the different versions of inset maps that we have ready for you. Now, let's see what else is in overlays. Here we also have live data overlays. These are live data layers you can add on top of your map that will automatically be updated as new information comes in. Let's have a look at earthquakes, for example. Let's zoom out a bit so we can actually see where there is something happening in the world. And then you can see right here, these earthquakes have now appeared on our map. When you go back to it and click on the little question mark, you can get additional information from where this data is sourced and how often it will be updated within the Mapcreator tool. If you create an interactive map with any of those live data overlays, the map will automatically update as new data comes in. Then let's have a look at some other overlays that we have here. For example, some point of interest ones, some topography ones such as hill shading. We have 3D building and some geography ones as well. To disable an overlay that you've added, just like the earthquakes one, just click on it again and it will now disappear from your map. Now let's use the search bar to go back to Eindhoven, to our original project, and let's have a look at layers. Here you find anything that is included in your map, whether that is your base data, such as labels, borders, roads, or anything that you added on top. In the middle right here, you see overlays, which you could of course add from the overlays menu we just looked at, and then here you have your custom elements. Now, if we select one of these things, we can use the little arrows on the side to move it up or down. You can see that now the roads have been placed on top of it or below it. Now, if you want to hide something from your map, you can also use this menu right here and click on the eye icon next to an element to enable or disable it. Or you can use the search bar in case you want to search for something specific within your elements list. Now let's have a look at the export functions for this static map that we've just created. When we go to the top right, to the export menu, you can decide whether you want your static map to be an SVG, a PNG, a JPEG, or a PDF, and then you can switch between an embed link or an export. In this case, I want to go for an SVG and I want it to be an export, and there we have our exported map. Now let's have a look at a different type of map. Let's create a map animation. So we're going to open a new project. The first thing that we want to do for this is go to the settings wheel, and then we are going to set our preset, and then we're going to go to layers and hide all labels so that we have a clean slate to start this animation. Now let's open up the animation tool by clicking on the video icon on the bottom of our screen. And let's set our first keyframe. Now we're going to drag our pointer on the timeline and we're going to set our second keyframe. Now let's add some elements on our map. For this case, let's add a star and then go to the location tab to the right, search for Barcelona, and then it will be placed there automatically. And then let's change the styling. So let's give it a different color. And let's give it a label that says Barcelona because we've just removed all labels on our map and it's nice to have some sort of context in your animation. Then let's add a second icon, in this case a pointer, and let's add that to Berlin. Once again, do the same thing, search for the location, go to the styling menu, add a label, Berlin, and there we have it. Now let's add a line. So we're going to go one below from the icon menu and go to line. We're going to search for our location, so we're going to search for Barcelona and then we're going to search for Berlin, and you can now see the line appear on our map. We're going to drag it out, and then we're going to go to the styling tab and put the slider to rounded corners for 100%. Then we're going to set it to dashed and change the width so that it's a little bit less wide. Now what we're going to do is we're going to animate this by click on the animate button, and then we're going to drag it a little bit on our timeline so that the animation itself stays a bit longer. Now, while we have this line selected, we're going to click on Auto Generate Keyframes. Here, we are going to only change our zoom level a little bit. Let's set this to 7. And you want to make sure that it's set to follow line rather than fixed, and click on Create. Now you can see the keyframes have automatically been created that will follow our line nicely. Now let's drag our pointer a bit again. Let's zoom out, tilt and rotate, and let's create one final keyframe where you can see the line with points A to B as well. And then another way that you can move the position of your keyframe is just drag it on the timeline as I'm doing here. Now, sometimes you might feel like you don't have a lot of space on your timeline because it only goes to 10 seconds, but you can actually zoom in and out here so that you can decide how much space that you need on your timeline. Now let's add an icon on top of our line. What we're going to do is we're going to select our line. From the styling menu, click on the little plus next to the icon and then select the icon that we want to have. Then we're going to toggle on link with line direction and we're going to rotate the icon. You only have to do this once to match the rotation of the icon with your line, and afterwards it will just follow your line. Now if we preview it again, you can see that we now have the icon following our line. As you can see from just the line and the keyframes, our timeline looks quite full, but you can actually drag this up. Let's animate some other elements as well. So let's drag it up, click on the star element, let's slide that where we want it to be on our timeline, and you can actually use the pointer to see it already happening in your preview, so you can decide exactly where you want an element to grow in, fade in, or appear instantly. Then on the right-hand side here, you can decide whether you want it to grow or appear instantly. In this case, we want it to grow. And the exit, we want to be instant. And then we're going to drag it out so it stays for the whole of our animation. Now let's do this again, but then for the icon we had it for Berlin, the little pointer. So once again, we're going to select it, click on the animate button. Then we're going to set it to fade in instead for this one. And let's drag it on our timeline where we want it to be, and then we can use our pointer to see when it will appear, and we can decide where we want it to be placed in our timeline. In this case, I want it to appear right before we see it, so that would be right here. And then once again, I want the exit to be on instant, and I want to drag that out. And that's our animation done. So we're once again going to navigate to the export menu, but now we're going to go to the right and we're going to select video. Here you can decide between MP4, MOV, or a image sequence, and you can set the frames per second. If you want more control over your export settings, you can contact us. And here you can preview your animation. And then we're ready for export. Now that we've covered a map animation, let's create a new project and let's have a look at an interactive choropleth map instead. Now let's go ahead and drag and drop our data into the tool. In this case, this is an Excel sheet. Then we're going to choose whether we want points or areas. In this case, we want to visualize areas. And you can see that the tool will automatically match your data to the correct data set. Then we want to select that we want to visualize the coffee consumption column, and there we have it. It will automatically appear on top of our map. Now we can go to the styling menu on the right-hand side, change the color, and then we can switch from a continuous to quantize or quantile, and also select how many classes we want to have visualized here from our data. Now, from the styling menu, let's move over to the right to the pop-up menu instead. Here, you can write the pop-up for the group as a whole, and you can even link from your data sheet. So we can link to the coffee consumption, we can link to the coffee native name, and even to the area where the coffee is consumed. Then we can go to the text styling menu to make some changes in our heading or make some of the text italic. From the export menu, you can not only preview a static or map animation, but you can also preview your interactive map. In this case, that means that you can also preview what your pop-up will look like. Although our map looks nice, it could do with a bit more context. So let's go back to the pop-up and let's make it say that the cups of coffee are actually consumed per person per day, to clarify that a little bit. And then let's add a title to our legend as well, where it explains what is actually visualized on this map. Now, if you have a look in between the styling and the pop-up menu, there's the data menu. This is where you can export and import your data again in case you want to make changes to your data set, or if you want to use one of the area sets from Mapcreator to export it and then add your own data and import it again. Now, I've already shown you what it looks like when you have the group selected as a whole when we're making changes to everything within our dataset. But if you want to make changes to only one of the elements, just double click on it, and as you can see, there's now a little rectangle box just around Germany that we have selected. This way you can make changes to one of the specific areas or one of the elements within your group. Now, let's go back to the export menu again. We can preview our interactive map one final time, and we can switch between the type of pop-ups that we want to have, whether that is a bottom left or a map element. And then here you have some additional controls like zoom in, zoom out, full screen, geolocation, and reset map. And then we can generate our embed link. We now have an embed link as well as an iframe code. If you make any changes to this project, whether that is making adjustments in the dataset, making adjustments in the pop-up or in the color, anything really, you name it, all you have to do is just export this map again, and then the embed link and the iframe will automatically be updated. Now, let's go ahead and create one new project for the final time. And this time we're once again going to drag and drop in our sheet, but instead of areas, we're going to select markers. Then make sure that your address is marked correctly, click confirm, and you will now see these markers appear on top of our map. What we're going to do here is show you how much you can actually link from your data sheet and what else you can do for interactive maps. So we're going to click on this icon instead. And then we're gonna make sure that it's linking the label inside the icon to the happiness ring. And then we're gonna resize it a little bit. Let's make it 50%. And then the dot color, let's link that to our data sheet as well, where we have a color assigned. Now you can see that all of these icons have the correct number as well as the correct color. Now, when we add clustering, what you see happens here is they get grouped together. And when you zoom in or out, you can see that they appear or disappear together. You can also adjust the circle color for the cluster in the settings menu. Now let's go to the pop-up tab again, and once again, link from our imported data. So we want to link to the country, we want to link to our happiness rank, and we want to link to our GDP per capita. But now, instead of just linking to this, what we're going to do is we're going to add an additional link where we link to the source of it. So even if you've already linked a specific data set, you can still link it with a URL from your sheet as well. What you're going to do for that is just select it, then click add a link, then go to the correct source from your sheet and add it in. Let's do that for GDP per capita as well. And there we go. Then let's make, once again, some styling changes to how we want our pop-up to look. And then let's add some media as well. So let's add the flag URL image and select fill. So it's going to fill the full pop-up. Now click export, navigate to interactive. And once again, we can preview what this would look like for us. We can add the controls again, and as you can see, all of these controls are added within the order that you click them, except for search, which is always going to end on top. Then we can click embed link again, and once again, we will have an iframe generated for us, ready to embed on your website or share somewhere else. And those are the basics of Mapcreator. From a static, interactive, animated, choropleth map, you name it, you can do it all just in one tool. Follow us for more and stay tuned for everything else the future holds for Mapcreator. Thank you for watching.